Now we hear the vocation story of Father Anthony Federico, a former ESPN producer who went from a dream job to a career-ending headline. He says it was in his darkest hour where he realized just how close Jesus was the whole time. Carolyn McGrath has more.
And when I was growing up, the only thing that I cared about was sports.
Father Anthony Federico, the Director of Vocations for the Archdiocese of Hartford, gives his testimony at a Lenten talk at Our Lady of the Blessed Sacrament in Westfield in April. And it's quite a story.
And then after I graduated Providence, I landed my dream job at ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.
A sports enthusiast from New Haven, Father Anthony, the oldest of 5, played hockey, baseball, and tennis growing up. He knew he was going to have to work his way up at ESPN, and he did. He went from delivering video clips to producers to becoming an overnight producer and reporter. In 2012, he was on the fast track in the digital sports world until one overnight shift.
I was abruptly fired from my job at ESPN when I was falsely accused of writing a racial slur.
At issue was the headline, "Chink in the Armor, Jeremy Lin's 9 turnovers cost Knicks an streak-stopping loss to Hornets." The phrase chink in the armor refers to an area of vulnerability or a weak spot in one's armor, but it was taken as a racial slur, which Father Federico not only apologized for, but then paid for dearly. He was fired and consequently humiliated on social media by the press and received death threats from around the world. He said he was even the subject of a Saturday Night Live skit. When Jeremy Lin was asked in a press conference about the incident, he told CNN, "I don't think it was on purpose." In fact, Lin reached out to Father Federico to meet with him in New York City a month later.
And we had precisely 1 hour to have lunch because he had to shoot a commercial after that. And we had a long, honest conversation in which he told me that he felt terrible about the way that the media was treating me, and we shared our common Christian faith, and he was so gracious to me in an age and an era in our culture where people are anything but. He was truly compassionate to me.
So God is good.
Yeah, and Jeremy Lin is a good guy.
But that didn't matter to the media, and the damage had been done. He was in a dark place, but God turned the light on. A firm in Stamford, Connecticut reached out to him and offered him a job in sports consulting for an AI firm. He said at the new job he had 1-hour lunch breaks, which is much different than a shift in a newsroom. He kept passing a church. One day, he walked in. He started attending daily mass, and little by little, he said he went from being an assembly line Catholic to truly understanding and embracing the true presence of Christ in the Eucharist. And after that, everything changed.
C.S. Lewis says, God speaks to us in our conscience. He whispers to us in our pleasures, but he shouts to us in our pain. So it's in pain and suffering and difficulty where the Lord is actually the closest to us. So for sure in my life, in that really terrible incident, I realized how God was so close to me, closer than I ever thought he was before.
Father Federico was ordained a priest in 2019.
And from that experience of brokenness and humiliation and embarrassment, the Lord revealed himself to me in a real way and showed me how much he loved me and how perfect his plan was for my life. And so that's when I said yes. And I've been ordained a priest of Jesus Christ about 5.5 years, and I've never been happier.
Under Father Anthony's direction, vocations are flourishing in the Archdiocese of Hartford. This fall, there will be 18 men in the seminary. That's the largest class in years. Now, this is not the career Father Anthony had planned, but it's a comeback that only God could orchestrate.
And in my life, I have been rich and I have been poor. I have been hired and I have been fired. I have been famous and I have been infamous. And I can tell you one thing for certain, nothing in this life satisfies like the love of Jesus Christ.
Reporting for Reel to Reel, I'm Carolyn McGrath.